Hello and welcome back to the Jessica Pinelli podcast. How are we going? We are going to start with an angel card pull because I haven't done one in a while. I apologize. I think I've said this before, but because I'm recording like this now where I'm holding the microphone, I just forget because I was recording before with the microphone in its microphone holder stand. So then I remember to shuffle, but I pre shuffled. I haven't even looked at the cards. I have two cards. So I want you to pick a number one or number two. Whatever comes up first, stick with that. Think of your intention, think of your question that you want answered. And the way that I do this, if you haven't experienced this before, which by the way, hello, welcome. If you're listening to the Jessica Pinelli podcast for the first time, and if you're here on YouTube, I would absolutely love if you could hit the subscribe button, if you could hit the thumbs up. And if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, wherever, I would love it if you gave a 5-star review. It means so much to me and it really helps share this channel to other like minded women. But hold your intention in your mind. The way that I do this is I'll flip over the cards. As I said, I haven't seen them yet. And I'll read what the card is and I'll kind of go by my intuition, like what I'm feeling into. All right. Have you got your number? Don't change it. Go with whatever first popped into your head. My number ones, this is for you. Oh, I love this. Trust your path. If you knew you would be supported, what would you do? First thing that comes up for mind is you're probably doubting a little bit of the how, like, how is this going to happen? Like, maybe you're thinking about something to do with your business or finances or relationships, and you feel it in your bones. You're like, that is definitely what I desire, but I don't know the how. Trust your path. I had this conversation earlier this morning with one of my long-term clients, and I was saying this to her is as long as you are putting in the messy inspired action, you're tapping into your energy, your nervous system, whether your nervous system feels safe, trust the rest. Trust that it's going to happen, whatever is aligned for you. And so I want you to operate from, as it says here, if you knew you would be supported, what would you do? You're always supported. It is always working out in your favor. And I truly believe everything happens in perfect divine timing. So, whatever doubt is in your mind right now, let it go. Put in the messy inspired action, align your energy, align your nervous system towards what you desire, and just trust it's happening. So, that is my number ones. Now, my number twos, are you ready? Hold your intention or your question. Oh, you have got transformation. Things are changing at a cellular level, deep healing. So I feel that you're nearly on the brink of the next level, the next edge for you. You're transforming rapidly, but you also feel like you're in this place where you can just see you're about to get what you're working towards. You can see it's nearly there. You can feel it. It's right there, but it hasn't happened yet. And I feel there are still a few things. The last part really sticks with me. Deep healing. What's coming up for me is a belief system or an identity. Something there I want you to explore. And I've got so many podcast episodes on both of those things, but something there is holding you back. Like you're about to tick over. It's just something there in your subconscious mind, your belief system, or your identity, or both needs to be looked at. And you need to just get curious and understand what you need to let go of. But the transformation, like things are changing and they're changing very, very rapidly. But don't ignore what keeps coming up subconsciously or what you see is playing out. And you're like, that's not really in alignment with what I desire for my next level in life. So just be very, very conscious of the subconscious. I hope that this has brought some clarity to whichever one that you chose and it's kind of given you a sign. I love these types of things where it's like you get a sign of whatever you were thinking of or whatever your intention is. And this kind of flows in, both of these cards flow in perfectly to what I want to speak to you about. I did a YouTube live on this a couple of weeks ago, and I've been meaning to get a recorded podcast, proper podcast episode out about it because I think it's so necessary. But I want to speak about the lucky girl mindset or lucky girl syndrome. If you're listening to this podcast episode, and you've come across me, or whether you're an OG, you have definitely seen this concept over and over again on all social media platforms, especially TikTok. I think there was like a wave of lucky girl syndrome, lucky girl mindset. And yes, we can look at it like law of attraction, law of assumption, But I want you to think of it in a little bit of a different way, or what I believe is the true lucky girl mindset. Now, I'm not discounting anything that you've probably learned from social media or in your own healing, in your own inner work. But the way that I see the lucky girl mindset is you have to have this deep, unwavering belief and knowing. The word knowing is probably the most important word here, like underline, bold, italicized. This deep, unwavering knowing that what you are working towards, what you desire. So, again, maybe it came up when I told you to choose an angel card, but that is going to happen. Like, you're so rooted in the conviction that it is going to happen. There are certain goals that I'm working towards in my business and my personal life, long-term goals. And I know I don't necessarily know the how, if I'm honest, which is a beauty of it, but I have this deep conviction that it is a part of this lifetime that I am living. And I have this unwavering belief that even though sometimes I get this wave of doubt, or I feel this sense of uncertainty, and the fears and the 3D reality starts to tell you it's too hard, or you will never do it, or you need to work harder, or why do you think you can do this, you're not good enough, or you're not worthy enough. I do have moments of this, and you probably have moments of this as well, but I always resort back to that feeling. And this is what I call the real lucky girl mindset of the conviction. It is happening. It is happening and it is working out. And I can feel it in my soul. And when you have that deep rooted belief of like, this is happening, it is happening in this lifetime, it is meant for me, that is truly in alignment with me and my purpose and what I'm creating as a high achieving woman, nothing can take that away. You may stumble, may waver a little bit, you may have these moments of doubt where you're sitting and you're like, okay, I've just had 3 months of failure and I don't I don't know where to turn from here. But then when you connect to the long-term vision, this is really for the long-term visions. It can be for the short-term goals, don't get me wrong, but I feel that when you step into that, that's exactly what everyone is explaining, right? The lucky girl mindset of like, everything happens for me, I am a lucky girl. That is really the law of attraction, but law of assumption. Law of assumption, just to put it in short, is when you assume something and it will feed back into your life. It will become this feedback loop. Something I spoke about to my masterminders in Wool Mastery Mastermind was all about the idea of looking at your belief system like your rule book. You have created from the law of assumption these rules that you govern by subconsciously and consciously. And so if we look at that notion of law of assumption, you're assuming something. When you assume something, you take on as belief, and that belief becomes the rule that you live your life by. Now, if you have that deep assumption that yes, this is going to happen no matter what, it turns into that belief. It turns into that rule that you are living by. And so that's what I see it as. It's really the conviction that you have in yourself, the conviction that you have in your goals, the conviction that you have in your desires, in the vision board that you have created. And even this morning, just before I got on my first client call, I was looking at my vision board. I created a vision board in not A3, A1. Is that the biggest one? A1 frame. And I got pictures from Pinterest, cut them out, and I put them on this A1 frame. It's sitting on my desk, and I look at it. I do a little bit of EFT tapping, especially if I'm, maybe waking up in a bad mood, or I'm looking at it halfway through the day and I'm feeling a little bit stagnant. If I feel any wave, again, I feel this is a perfect example. If I feel any wave of uncertainty or any wave of doubt, I will tap that away and I will just sit in my body. What I've noticed, I always shared, if you've been listening for the longest time, you will know that I always pick up themes with my clients, whether it's my private clients in a group container or in my mastermind. But the themes always seem to happen at the same time. The theme that is coming up with all of my clients that is going to help you understand this concept a lot easier is the nervous system work, but the regulation, being able to regulate to a new capacity. That is phase 3 of Woman Mastery. So my Woman Mastery framework, that's what the mastermind is all based on. The 3 phases is what I teach with all of my clients. If you master yourself, like, your success is a direct reflection of your self mastery. And so if you feel that your success is faltering, or you feel this, you're like, yes, I really want what's on my vision board, or like I have this dream and goals, but you don't feel your success moving or the needle moving, something isn't mastered there. You're not working on the mastery. And there's, as I said, there's 3 phases that I share with all of my clients. And phase 3 is all about regulating to a new capacity and being able to regulate to a new capacity. In the example that I'm giving, if I look at that vision board and I feel this wave of doubt, I would tap it away or do some type of grounding practice to come back into my body, to understand where the sticky point is of the uncertainty and the doubt. But when I look at it, I'm like, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And it's not, some people think that they can. I remember once I put a thread, my mind's just gone to a memory. So I'm going to side note, share this with you. I put a thread months ago. I can't remember exactly, but it was something along taking, you can have do all the energy work, but you still need the messy inspired action. You need to take the messy inspired action. And someone commented and she said, well, that's incorrect. You only need to align yourself energetically and everything will fall into place. And she said, I've done the energy work and I manifested my dream house. I have 6 figures in investment, all of this. And I said, well, you didn't just sit there and just align your energy. You also took messy inspired action. You didn't just sit there and all of a sudden a house fell into your lap and that's yours, or the 6 figures in investments became yours. That isn't how it works. The energy work is just as important as the strategy work. This is why my work with my clients is a blend of both, but you also need to be able to regulate to the new capacity. Have you ever tried to implement a new habit and then you found, like, after a month you're falling back into old patterns, or maybe even after a few months, and you're like, why? Like, I was on such a good roll and now I'm back to where I started. That's because we haven't regulated phase 3 of woman mastery. We haven't regulated to a brand new capacity. And so, when I read that, I think that sometimes that can be the misconception that we only need to do the energy work, but we also need to take the messy inspired action as well. But with that is a belief of it is happening. It is always happening. It's going to happen. And that is the assumption. That's the lucky girl syndrome that you see in social media. It's the law of assumption, it's the law of attraction, because that's such a different energy to vibrate on. Not, oh, I don't know how this is going to happen, or I doubt this is going to happen, or this is too hard, it's never going to happen, versus it's always happening for me. It's always going to happen. Everything that I desire is happening. I am succeeding. See how the energy is very different? And then imagine you pair that with the messy inspired action. It's going to create the wave of what you desire. And so what I want you to start to think about is, if you're really struggling you have moments of doubt or uncertainty, and maybe you're struggling to tap into that lucky girl mindset, instead think, what am I really strongly convicted in? What do I have this unwavering, but like I know it's going to happen? There are certain things that have come into my life where I just knew it was going to happen. But at the time, I had no idea how. Even with this apartment, one thing that I desired, this when I was writing it, future scripting in my journal in 2017, was a view of the city and floorboards. And there were a few other things, and very bright and all of this. At that point in time, I had no idea how that was going to happen. I didn't even know what city that was going to be in. I let that notion go. I just said that's going to happen, and I could feel it as I was writing it all of the time. I knew that was something that was going to happen, but I really, honestly, had no idea how that was going to come into fruition. And so I want you to start to tap in to yourself and ask yourself, what am I truly convicted in? If anything, am I convicted in anything? And if you're not, that's somewhere to start. There is no point doing all of the inner work if you don't believe in it, like truly, truly believe in anything else. There is no point in doing the affirmations, doing the EFT tapping, the subliminals, if you're not convicted in what you desire. And then pair that again. I know I keep saying this, but it's so important, the messy inspired action. What can we take? What can I do every single day that's going to move the needle? You should be reflecting every single day. And then at the end of the week should be a bit of a reflection. What worked? What didn't? People always ask me, maybe I'll do a podcast episode on this. Let me know in the comments, or slide into my DMs on Instagram at Jess Pinili if you want a podcast episode on self-reflection. But people always ask me, like, how do I know if I'm moving the needle? How do I know if things are working? Self-reflection. I know it sounds so simple, but at the end of each day, you don't need to sit down for an hour. Most of the time during the week, I will self reflect in my head. Okay, what worked? What didn't work? What was I doing? What didn't I do? What didn't I achieve? Why didn't I achieve that? Go through it. Yes, it does help to write it down in your journal. But at the end of the week, I take some time, whether it's in my journal or it's in my phone notes, and I just brainstorm and I objectively look at my personal life and my business, and I ask myself, have I progressed or am I doing the same thing on repeat? A lot of people recognize that they're living on autopilot, that they're just on the hamster wheel. They're content. They're not doing much, but they don't know why they're not moving forward. They think they're doing things, but they're not moving forward. The first way to pinpoint that, especially if you want to find this conviction in the things that you desire, is actually being able to recognize what is the same. Have you been doing the same since January? Maybe you changed your habits at the start of this year. And maybe you've been doing the same thing and now it's no longer working, which is great. Great feedback. Let's change it. Let's do something different. Don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to change what you're doing in fear that you're going to mess up the progress you've made. Because even if that fails, I always say to my clients, to my friends, the worst case scenario isn't that bad. Isn't that bad. But be prepared for it and assess. But that worst case scenario, even if that happens, again, failure equals feedback, but you can't get to worst case scenario if you don't change anything. And you can't get to the best case scenario unless you change something as well. So understanding how do I know the needle is moving and I'm making progress towards becoming convicted in what I desire, it's having the self-reflection piece. But let me know again, like I said, if you want a whole episode on that, I can go through a few different things I share with my clients and what I do personally. But to kind of round off this entire episode, I just want to remind you that all of the work towards your dreams and desires does not matter if you're not convicted and truly believing that your success is inevitable. Success is different to everyone. I say this often, but if you're new here, make sure you understand your version of success. What does your version of success look like? What does it feel like? And it's different to everyone. There is no wrong, there is no right. There's just different forms of success. But there's no point doing this work, listening to these podcasts, watching the YouTubes, unless you are so convicted and know that your success is inevitable, that the things you desire is inevitable, and you're going to achieve it and you're going to have it. And if it's unwavering, you need more self-reflection, more self-trust, self-belief, and more self-love to be able to tap into that. Because if it's always faltering, if you're always in this doubt, if you're in your point of attraction is more in the doubt and uncertainty, of course things aren't working in your favor. Of course things aren't aligning as you wish. So start to check in with your self-belief and the conviction in the things you desire. And when you start to grow that and when you start to approach everything with, okay, right now, I don't know how I'm going to get to X amount of cash per month or become a millionaire or get that mansion or get that farmhouse or attract that relationship or have X amount of my savings or investments. But that's okay because I know and I can feel it. It's happening for me. It's always happening for me. And I'm working towards that now. Such a better energy than I don't know how this is going to work. I'm too scared. Why bother trying if I don't know how I'm going to get? See, we don't want that energy. We don't have time for this energy here. I'm going to leave you with this episode. Let me know in the comments below or come and slide into my Instagram at Just Pinili. Let me know your takeaways from this. Even tag me on your story. I love, love, love to have a chat with you all that listen to the podcast. It means so, so much to me. But I will speak to you next episode. I'm just trying to think if the next episode is a solo or a guest. Probably a solo. I'm not too sure. It will be a surprise. But I'll speak to you in the next episode anyway. I appreciate every single one of you. Bye.